What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with Week 19 MLB Power Rankings. As always, I'll be ranking all 30 teams, and you'll see where your team ranks in this week's video. So let's get into it. But before I get into the rankings, we got to talk about the hitters of the week. And those hitters were Dansby Swanson and Freddie Freeman. I'm putting Swanson on this list because he just came off the IL last week and had an excellent week. He had 4 home runs in 4 games for Cincinnati. Added an extra home one against Atlanta and, got on base 357. It's all right. Not in a week. It's not the best, but he produced for this Cubs team when they needed him to come off the IL in a big week. And he responded very well. And same for Freddie Freeman. He's looking like he's playing his way towards an MVP season for the NL. A 500 average last week, over 500 on base percentage, and even adding 3 stolen bases last week, which is pretty good for him. The pitchers of the week are none other than Andrew Heaney and Johan Oviedo. Oviedo has been very good for the Pirates as of late. Last week he had 2 starts, 14 innings, 11 strikeouts, 2 wins, and 2 quality starts. 7-inning gem versus Milwaukee, giving up only 2 hits. Then Heaney, I want to talk about giving up hits. He only gave up 6 total hits in almost 12 innings pitched and got both of those wins last week. And the Rangers, he was a big factor in them going undefeated last week. And you'll see that these Rangers did go undefeated, and they beat the White Sox in Miami, swept them in both 3-game series. They're 66-46, winning the division in the AL by 2.5 games. And they should take care of business this week, at least go, I would say, at worst 4-2. I think would be their floor for this week. There's no way they should lose more than 1 if they even lose to Oakland. And kind of same for San Francisco. I just think they're going to beat up on them. Good matchups there. But this team's hot. They've scored 39 runs in 6 games. Simeon, Garcia, Seager, and others are playing really good. And, Heim went down. Hedges has stepped in for him, adding Jordan Montgomery and Max Scherzer. I think right now, Scherzer struggled, but then he settled in. Montgomery struggled, settled in. But I think when these guys get a few more starts and get comfortable, I really think this Rangers ball club could be a very dangerous team come October. And then none other than the New York Mets are the duds of the week. After trading everyone away, Verlander, Scherzer, Tommy Pham, Mark Canha, pretty much they're giving up on this year, and next year is, just kind of like ho-hum. Maybe we get 500 next year, but they only scored 14 runs in 6 games, and they got swept against Kansas City. And I think right there, it just shows you how disappointing this Mets season has been. And, there's always a new chance next. The biggest movers of this week, moving up a ton, are the Mariners, Cubs, and Nationals after very good weeks. Then the Angels, Reds, and Mets are all moving down after, Mets didn't win, and the Reds and Angels only won a total of 1 game last week. We'll start with 30 through 21. Not much is changing there at the bottom of the order. 30 through 27 staying the same after just mediocre weeks. The Mets have to move down after their 0-6 week. Cardinals as well moving down too after they went 2-4. My Tigers are staying pat at 24. Maybe next week they'll pull one out. They play 4 against Minnesota this week, and that's really going to determine if this team has a fighting chance still to possibly win the AL Central. Those Pirates are moving up too after 3-3 week, but played some good competition to get to 3-3. The Nationals, surprise team of the week, going 5-1 last week, and they're jumping up the ranks, moving to 22. And then the Guardians, they're trending right now because of Jose Ramirez, the Tim Anderson fight, and Ramirez knocking out Anderson. And, the famous broadcaster, down goes Anderson. That's trending everywhere. They did go 1-5 last week, but no one's going to mention that just because of that fight. 20 through 11 tells a different story. Everybody's changing their spots here in this one. Arizona and Miami move down 2, and Angels are moving down 5 after all 3 of those teams have 1-6 weeks. They went from contending from a wild card to now at least a few games back. Twins and Padres both move up 3 after their very disappointing weeks. But those Twins are starting to creep away with that AL Central division, with those Guardians falling back, trading, not really playing for this year. And then the Tigers, in third place, kind of backs against the wall, have to sweep Minnesota. It's looking like it's the Twins to lose at this point. 15 is the Yankees, going 3-4 last week. They had tough matchups. They're just moving down just because teams are jumping them. Red Sox and the Reds moving down 4, and the Brewers after the Reds and Red Sox had awful weeks. Brewers 3-4, not bad, but there's just some better teams that jump them right now. And a team that's being really good right now, Cubs, coming into Monday night, they're They're 13-3 in their last 16 and 32-18 in their last 50 games. So these Cubs are really starting to turn a page on the season, and hopefully Stroman can come back quicker than anticipated right off the 10-day. He could possibly just miss a few starts and come back, and then they add another great arm to their rotation again. So these Cubs are starting to really put it together. I like their chances of winning that division, just because you can see the Cubs, Brewers, and Reds are those three teams in the NL Central that have a legitimate chance to win the division. And I think right now, if you're a betting man, I think you got to go with the team that's on fire heading into August and the later months. And I got to go with Cubs just because, these August, September months are the hardest months in baseball. And if you can play well during those months, it propels you to a postseason berth. 10-1 and 10 through 4, there's movement. Giants move up 1. Mariners move up 6 spots after their 6-1 week. The Phillies moving up 4 as well after going 5-2. And all 3 of those teams could possibly drop out of the top 10 as well, just as we saw this week. 3 teams dropped out, 3 enter, just because of how close their records are and how good of baseball that these teams can play. Blue Jays, Dodgers, and Astros fall victim to the Rangers going 6-0, and that's why they're moving down. Nothing they really did wrong. The Blue Jays 4-3, Dodgers 5-1, Astros 5-2, but those Rangers just going 6-0 and making some big moves at the deadline just made me put them above all those teams. And then at 3, you have Tampa, who closed out a series against Detroit last week and in the weekend and had to play some tough games, but they got 2 of 3. Those O's, man, the Orioles are just looking even better. And if the Braves have another 3-3 week, I think you could possibly see the Orioles jump them next week, just because of how hot they have been as well. But, for this week, week 19, the Braves are still the best team in my power rankings just because of how much power they have. Their rotation's been very good. The bullpen has been kind of shaky at times, but it's getting better. And, not to mention Max Fried is back, and he had an excellent start against the Cubs, blanked them for his start. So this Braves team, not to mention the Cubs would like turning the page, but I feel like this Braves team is kind of coming into full form at this point, kind of spreading their wings and really kind of letting everything out there. It's going to be a very close race for the Braves and Orioles. First one to 100 wins. I think both of those teams are going to get 100 because I think there's 50-something games and no way those teams play 500 baseball from here on out. So I think you're looking at least 200-win teams being the Braves and the Orioles. But that's going to be it for this week's video. Make sure you guys come back next week to see where your favorite team ranks and see if the Braves are still on top at number 1. But until next time, the Bench Buddies are out.